Hey, cunts, don't forget to click the subscribe button.
We have to have had something going on.
Oh, yeah. They, blind pool money, like Hungarian Forrest Gump, who's negotiating his €1 billion blind pool now. Well, he built the largest hospital network in Eastern Europe in 3.5 years. So, I mean, he did something, even though he had the idea of doing this, but now he's done it. So now is the time to do spreadsheeting. What if he had had 500 million or 200 million? Or what if he had bought, instead of just focusing in Hungary, where they only had 15 hospitals to begin with, and he bought 7 of them, but all of Eastern Europe. He wants to do Eastern Europe. I mean, he would have created, a few $billion, or euros, excuse me. And so but now, he's not even, I told him not to consider a SPAC, but he's talking about a blind pool. But his directors are getting, nervous. They have never bought stuff in the other part of Eastern Europe, and they don't want to make a mistake. In fact, there were 5 hospitals that went into receivership in Holland that I sent them, and I thought it was a laydown, but his chairman said, Holland, the Dutch are tough to deal with. I mean, you know all the stories, right? I mean, the Dutch never gave a fucking ice away in winter. So, I mean, something's got to be wrong here. And they back away. What's the real deal? What are the Dutch trying to do? And there's certain ethnicities that make people nervous. And so, some other group bought the hospitals out of receivership. But they want to stay close. So what he's going to do is the blind pool is going to have a different board. And I may very well be the chairman. But if not, there'll be somebody else that wants to venture outside of Hungary. Because they basically have now bought 60% of the assets up. There's not much left. Unless they want to go into ancillary or complementary businesses, and they've been successful with hospitals against the grain. They've done it well, not knowing much, so we're going to stay with hospitals. And the only other place they can go is the rest of Eastern Europe, and there's a shit ton of them. But just imagine, you only spend 160 million of 250 million, and you got to give the money back.
That's when you make the bad investments.
Huh?
That's when you start making bad investments.
I would have been making bad investments a long time ago because it sounds easy to invest $100 million. It's not. 100 million euros. The extra 100 million. It's not. And then what they do is the people that are on the selling end make it harder for you because they're trying to grind the last euro out of you. And God forbid you try to buy some fucking Dutch assets. And I mean, they'll beat you to death because they know you've got to spend the money. And so it becomes a pissing match. But he's in a good position.
Have you ever had like somebody in Hungary rolling up hospitals, somebody in Germany, and them merged together and create some massive?
The closest was Rick. He rolled up. He was the biggest hospital owner in the world, but primarily 70 or 80% of the hospitals were in the United States, and the rest were in major Western countries like the UK, Australia. He didn't go to Eastern Europe. He didn't go to Eastern, because that was 30 years ago. As Peter says, the model still works. Of course it works. I mean, and again, I told you, it pisses me off when he calls it the Rick Scott fucking model. But anyway, that's a personal thing. But of course it still works. Nothing's changed. Except now money's cheaper. At 15% interest rates, the deals have got to be 3 times better. I mean, it's simple math. Now, I mean, money literally for free, you can make a lot of mistakes. I'm not telling you to make mistakes, but the pressure is not really on you to perform as well as you had to perform at 15% interest rates. For us that have been in business, you know the difference. We're paying 5-6%. Now we got to pay 15%. I mean, that knocks the shit of all your modeling, for sure. but there's just a shitload of opportunities. And there's going to be a plethora, a whole flood after the first year, because the world's been asleep the last 2 or 3 weeks. And especially in certain countries, it's been dead asleep. They're in comas. But they're going to be coming out of their caskets like Dracula and vampires now. And so for the first, it's like people always buy gym memberships, and then they use them, and then they go back and they don't use them anymore. It's analogous to the assets that are going to come on the market all over the world, and so it's a good time. It's a good time.
I've had a lot of guys be motivated since Trump is leaving, Biden's coming, the whole tax bracket thing. That's a motivation for them to sell.
Yeah, and he's still president to the 21st, I think, of January. He's going to do some crazy shit in the first few days. What I'm praying for is that he does away with inheritance tax, death tax. I mean, Allah, you took all the oil and gas away from the Jews in Israel. I can't really relate to that, but I could relate to no inheritance and death tax.
I'll keep you in my prayers.
Because hundreds of billions, trillions, are going to be, there'll be people, celebrating, it'll be unbelievable. Now, the little guy doesn't mean shit to, okay? But 80% of all the money is owned by a couple thousand people anyway, so, but it'll be a great thing. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so you ready for this?
Yeah, we have another one too.
Okay. What's the other one?
Sure. Yeah. It's a speculation bullshit, but
Yeah, it's called the eStore case. It's a potential startup of a website, and
NetScum?
yeah, they need seed money like $90,000.
90,000.
And for 6 months operations, and they found an investor for the seed money who takes 1/3 of all shares already.
Only a third.
Only a third. Risk profile.
He's not Dutch.
Risk profile is really high. Only 1 out of 4 maybe survives of these kind of companies. There are 2 founders who have the other 1/3 of the shares, and they have projections that only after 7 months they will have a bit more than $8,000 a month of EBITDA, and within 18 months they will have almost 18,000 EBITDA.
So what are they selling online? What is the product?
It's a software that you put in. It can basically read music off a musical score sheet. You can see it visually. It'll play it back to you audibly, and I think it's aimed at professional musicians so they can practice.
Well, we'll ask our 2 professional musicians. NetScum projections are even less likely to happen but the 90 grand is nothing. So they should be able to fund that.
they weren't able to.
They weren't.
No, they only raised
these guys
75 grand or some shit.
Oh, these guys must have been piss poor salesmen.
But they make big projections because they say, okay, within 7 months, so in the first month after the trial period, we will have a company valued at 1.5 million, 15 times the EBITDA, and in 18 months it will be worth 3 million. And one of our conclusions was that this is why QLA is about de-risk businesses.
Oh, really? what genius said that? That's
and
great.
you give the 1/3 of shares talking to good board members instead of one person who gives chump change for seed money.
Okay, now that's the kind of deal that I would take money from board members. Instead of beating the gums trying to sell it, each board member put up, or 6 board members put up 15 grand each. This is, I wouldn't chase around. But most of these deals, it's not 1 in 3rd, 1 in 10 of these works out, not 1 out of 3. But when they work out, the value that they put on it is just, they pulled it out of their ear. There's no basis for that. But I'm sure there must be 10,000 of these being sold, or they're trying to sell to somebody. Okay, well, I'll see you guys in there.